President Zelensky has ordered to liberate the entire country of Ukraine. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's go straight to the east of Ukraine, where I'm going to be talking about the major changes that happened recently. First of all, the main target of Russia in the next stage of the war is still remaining the capturing the city of Slavyansk. Several advancement attempts have been made by Russians, but Ukrainians were able to resist these attacks. But to be honest, Russians were able to advance a little bit in the east of this territory. And specifically what I'm talking about here is that Russians were able to capture this small town of Verkhnekamenskaya. Another city of interest for Russians in this area is the city of Seversk. But unfortunately for Russians, they are not getting even close to this city. That is why the only thing left for them to do is to bomb this city. And yet another major city that Russia wants to capture is the city of Bakhmut. Because if you remember from my previous episode, this city is basically on the intersection of major highways. Another interesting news from the same region is that allegedly the bridge between the cities of Lysychansk and Rubezhne was destroyed by Ukrainian army. This was the railroad bridge, and approximately 3 tons of explosive materials were used to destroy it. And now let's go to the northeast of Ukraine, and whenever I'm doing this, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you like this style of daily updating. First news comes to us from this small town of Dementivka, where Russians tried to advance, but Ukrainians were able to resist this attack as well. But at the same time, Russian army was able to advance in this small town of Okip. But what is even more significant is that in comparison to the previous day, Ukrainian army was able to liberate Rubezhne. And even though, as you can already see, Russians are trying to advance by foot in Kharkov region, the majority of attacks against this region are still the shelling of the city of Kharkov. And most of these artillery strikes come from the city of Belgorod. And while I'm going to the south of the country, please feel free to stop by my very own Discord server. Here you can basically talk with me personally about basically everything you want. And in addition to that, we as a community donate money to Ukraine every single month. And if you want to be a part of this group donation, please feel free to check my Patreon. All the links will be down in the description. Alright, so one of the major updates from the south comes from the city of Nova Kakhovka, where, if you remember, yesterday it was reported that Ukrainian army was able to destroy military warehouses of Russia. Ukrainian army claims that as a result of these bombings, military equipment, vehicles, ammunition and oil transporters of Russia were destroyed. But at the same time, Russia claims that Ukrainians attacked a civilian object, specifically a fertilizer warehouse. And one of the chemicals that was destroyed was the saltpeter. And because of the explosion waves, some other civilian structures were affected. Which, by the way, this fact is not declined by Ukrainian army, and this is just once again another chance for them to reinforce their previous statement, is that Ukrainian civilians must evacuate from the south of Ukraine as soon as possible. And the reason for this is so that Ukrainian army can advance in the south and liberate regions without being afraid to accidentally kill or injure civilians. Another update comes from the small town of Mirne in Melitopol region. According to the mayor of Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, Ukrainian army was able to destroy the military headquarters of Russia in this small town. In response to this incredible offensive of Ukrainian army, basically the only thing left for Russians to do is to shell distant cities. And one of the most affected cities of these bombings is the city of Mykolaiv. For the last several days, Russians were sending several artillery strikes against this city, and unfortunately one of the targets became the residential houses. And it is reported that the majority of these missiles come from the city of Kherson. And the last piece of update from the south of Ukraine is that according to Ukrainian intelligence, there is approximately 6 Russian battleships in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. And it has been reported that these battleships, they do carry caliber cruise missiles. As a result, what we have today is that Ukraine is severely outperforming Russia in the south, and at the same time there is no significant advancements in the east of Ukraine, neither from Russia nor from Ukraine. Welcome to another episode of ridiculous Russian propaganda. And today we have this poster from allegedly the Ministry of Defense of Russia, which compares the careers of 2 different people. Basically what it says is that in case you decide to join the Russian army, you will be settled in life. But in case you choose the regular boring person's life, you decide to go to university, get your bachelor's or even master's, you will end up drunk person who will eventually divorce his wife. So basically the main message of this poster is that every single young man of Russia should think about giving up his life for the better future of his own motherland. It has been reported that the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Donetsk Republic, yes, the same republic which is temporarily occupied by Russia, so this head is actively speaking with the representatives of North Korea. And the main topic of this conversation is that the Ministry of, I guess, Foreign Affairs of Donetsk is asking, or even basically practically begging North Korea to recognize the independence of this region. So I guess basically you already get the idea of what kind of international relations Donetsk Republic will have with the rest of the world in the nearest future. And what I mean by that is that imagine if you have to beg North Korea to recognize your independence, what will be the reaction of other countries whenever this Donetsk Republic officially acknowledges its independence. And I guess you don't need to be a genius in international relations to understand that basically not a single other country will recognize this independence. Here we have a picture from Dmitry Rogozin, who is basically the head of Roscosmos, which is basically NASA of Russia. And this guy is basically like, look at this big rocket. This is the intercontinental ballistic missile called Sarmat, which can reach any single point in this earth and destroy our enemies. And yes, once again, this is the statement of Dmitry Rogozin, who is supposedly the head of, let's call it, space exploration of Russia. And now you compare it with like statements that NASA gives us. What his American colleagues focus on is, yes, the exploration of the space, taking pictures of far galaxies, maybe even landing on the moon eventually once again. Which is basically exactly what the space agency of any particular country should do, but not if you are the representative of the space agency in Russia. In this case, the only thing you need to focus on is how to build this big, massive, the biggest rocket in the world, and how you can destroy your enemies. And here we have the official statement of representatives of Pentagon, who are claiming that the next defense meeting, Rammstein-4, is scheduled to happen on July 20th. During the last defense meeting, Rammstein-3, the United States of America announced its massive military support to Ukraine. And as a result of previous Rammstein-3 defense meeting, Ukraine was able to receive these high-mobility artillery rocket systems HIMARS, which, as you already know, are providing significant contribution towards Ukrainian victory. So once again, the next meeting, Rammstein-4, will happen on July 20th, and as always, it is expected that Ukraine will be awarded with the next package of military support. And as you can see, Ukraine is already benefiting from all the offensive weapons that Western countries have sent them, and now imagine Ukraine will just get more. If you made it this far into the video, you are a true hero, so please consider becoming my channel member. Thank you so much for your attention, check the links in the description, stay safe, and see you tomorrow.